Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar for higher ed marketing and recruitment professionals who want to learn new ways to win at the top of the funnel. Before we get started today, our biggest order of business is determining the best Super Bowl commercial from Sunday. So go ahead, type your answers in the chat section. Devyn, what was your favorite?
I would have to say my favorite was the Amazon commercial with Scarlett Johansson about reading minds. I just thought it was funny and super out there, and it's definitely the one that stuck with me out of all of them.
Fantastic. I thought that was good. He was getting into a bit of hot water there. I'm a Curb Your Enthusiasm fan, so I like the one with Larry David in it. That gave me a good giggle. And without further ado, I'm Rachel Martin. I'm the University Partnership Manager here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I am joined by the wonderful Devyn.
Hi, I'm Devyn. I'm a University Partnership Executive at Unibuddy, and I'm actually currently in our New York office.
Fantastic. And our goal here at Unibuddy is to help connect your prospective students with your existing students in order to find their best fit institution. And between us, we've probably spoken with thousands of universities across the US about the challenges that they're facing entering 2022 and the now, honestly, quite desperate fight for students that they find themselves in. Applications are in decline. If you're a community college, a lot of your prospective students are having to opt for work over education as a result of family struggles during the pandemic. If you're Ivy League, you're competing for a shrinking number of top caliber students. And then there's the squeeze middle, institutions who are fighting on both fronts, who struggle to appeal to students embedded in their local communities or can't muster up resources to attract students from out of state or internationally. How can we remain competitive in a landscape like that? How can we be seen by students as someone who stands above the digital noise? These will be some of the issues that we're going to go ahead and discuss today. And if you have any questions throughout, the chat is open. Ask away. We're at a time in higher ed where we're asking a lot of questions, and this webinar will be no different. We'll try and pick questions and address them as they come up, but if not, we will certainly pick them up at the end. Now at Unibuddy, we've helped over 600 institutions connect with students across all parts of the funnel. We're a different kind of end-to-end recruitment platform in that we put your students in front of your prospects across the entire higher ed journey. You could say we're in the business of belonging, and today we're focusing on a very important part of that journey, the start of it, right at the top of the funnel at the discovery phase. Because if you don't have anyone starting the journey, then you're not going to have anyone convert further down the line. So it's important that we start things out on the right foot with the aim of building the most engaged and highly qualified prospects. Our aim today isn't just to show how to capture a vast number of leads that you push through the funnel, but focusing on how we can attract and be discovered by offering value to our Gen Z audience. Devyn?
Yeah, so by extension, the big question here is, what is it that Gen Z even wants? More specifically, how does this demographic want to be communicated with? And how do they consume media while interacting with brands, more specifically higher ed institutions, in order to reach a purchasing decision? One thing that we've kind of found consistent across the board is the idea of human-to-human interaction. It's no accident that the phrase authenticity, community, and hyper-personalization have become part of the common vernacular in higher ed marketing and a recruiter's workplace. JVU, as you can see here, a Gen Z consulting firm, sums this up pretty well. They say, when interacting with Gen Z, the employees of a brand must have a completely unique personality that shines through the screen. A completely unique personality that shines through the screen, well, that's wonderfully poetic, but also kind of terrifying, honestly. I think they call it being sublime. So what does this mean for you at the top of the funnel, whether you're a higher ed recruiter or a marketer? Well, first thing is that it highlights that we're going to be operating in an ever-changing environment. So one of the most popular ways for universities to be discovered in 2020 all the way through 2021 was via digital advertising. So no surprises there. This encompasses running ads on paid search, social media, and ad networks. You know, the ads that follow you around on the internet until you finally buy something. Or in some cases, just following you to the ends of the earth. I get those a lot for shoes, so I could relate. We all love them. Now, the reason we raise this is because a lot of the advertising happening in that category is running on borrowed time. This is for 3 reasons. First off, because it's becoming less effective, Gen Z hardly sees any ads. 51% of them use ad blockers, and 61% use private browsing windows so they can't be identified. They want to remain anonymous. Whereas millennials come of age during the days of social media, where you literally put anything and everything on your wall or on your feed. Gen Z have grew up into the rise of public group chats. Instant messaging, Facebook is now something that really belongs to their parents. They're not really going to be on that anymore, unfortunately, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. The second thing is that Apple effectively eliminated cross-app tracking in 2021 with one single iOS update. That's really all it takes to change the way that all of Gen Z thinks. How many people opted out of cross-app tracking, costing Facebook billions of dollars? 96% of iOS users. That's so many, 96%. And 87% of teenagers in the US have an iPhone. The writing is on the wall for traditional forms of top of funnel advertising. And finally, lastly, if you needed one more reason to rethink your top of funnel strategy, it's that Google is phasing out third-party tracking cookies in its Chrome by the end of this year. That's in a few months, guys. So in short, privacy at the top of the funnel is now a reality. Big changes are ahead, people, and we need to get ahead of them.
So those are awesome points, Devyn, and we can really add a layer of insight on top of this in our collaborative research with Brandwatch. We looked at the difference between private top of funnel Unibuddy college ambassador conversations with a student's public use of social media. In our research, we isolated conversations where the author expresses a wish or a need. And our key finding was that in private forums, students were looking for information about the specific things they want to accomplish during university. This includes looking for information on scholarships, options to study abroad, and insights into specific departments. Whereas in public forums, students express sentiment wishing that they had done things differently or had been given information prior to choosing a university. They're talking about how they wish they'd applied for more scholarships, gotten into more schools, or had more resources during the application process. So in short, if you're interacting privately with students at the top of the funnel, then you have a greater influence than those interacting publicly. It's human. We're more open when we don't have thousands of eyes on us. But the challenge here is scale. How do you ensure that those private, meaningful, high quality conversations can attract the volume of prospects that you're looking for? Well, the answer is to turn up where your prospects are, but more importantly, where they're asking those questions that your college ambassadors are best suited to answer. I'm sure most of you have worked with Study in the USA, but for those of you who haven't, it's a place where hundreds of thousands of students make university decisions every year. And one of our ways that we're rethinking the top of the funnel has been to partner with Study in the USA to ensure that college ambassadors, those humans, are at the very beginning of a student's journey to answer questions. So the kinds of questions that cannot be answered by a Google search. Will I fit in? What does teaching look like week to week? Do you feel prepared for work? So yes, we're in a new era for recruitment, but also a radically different landscape for students. Things aren't what they were just less than 2 years ago. Students want to learn what their educational landscape will look like. We've all heard time and time again that Gen Z are more trusting of the information they hear from their peers rather than anything they hear from glossy brochures or even the most prestigious university representatives. They want to get information from people like themselves. From speaking with thousands of colleges, we've noticed that you've really got to have good peer approaches further down the funnel, and you all are doing it. You have brilliant ambassador programs, student-centric open houses, and a whole host of recruitment activity that gets students in front of other students. So bravo, top marks to you all. But here's the thing, there's absolutely no reason why that stuff should be limited to the bottom of the funnel. And this is exactly what we've seen with our case here with Fisher College in Boston. The college was early to the digital student recruitment party, but it was in March of 2020 that they started to explore a peer-to-peer approach for the top of the funnel. And one of the things that they did was to choose Unibuddy Discover and Study in the USA's website to get their ambassadors in front of prospects before they had even heard of the college. So users on the Study in the USA can go ahead and search by subject. And if there's a match for Fisher, prospects are introduced to Fisher College's ambassadors. It's incredibly simple and honestly really easy to set up. The goals for Fisher were to reduce summer melt and obviously increasing lead generation. They were looking to move accepted students along the funnel and keep them engaged over the summer and target new leads territorially. And it worked for them. By kicking off with a focus on international recruitment and then expanding to undergraduate admissions through the power of student conversations at scale, they generated high quality leads, 473 leads that had a 27% conversion rate, delivering 130 committed students. How many of your digital ads are touting a 27% conversion rate for commitment? Honestly, this stuff is a secret sauce and not enough people are really talking about it.
Yeah, I got to agree with that, Rachel. I think for us, it's very clear. There's definitely a business case for thinking more student to student and kind of scaling that personal as well as personality right at the top of the funnel. As we've spoken about privacy and the needs of Gen Z, now let's approach the top of the funnel from another dimension. You may have come across a recent stat that is changing how people think about digital communication and marketing, especially for higher ed. It was that in 2021, the most visited domain on the internet was my favorite thing, TikTok. I just checked this past weekend and my average for last week was I spent about 8 hours a day on TikTok, which kind of blew my mind, but didn't surprise me too much. More traffic went to an app designed for entertainment and learning rather than Google, the utility of the internet. Isn't it incredible and a sign of the reviewing top of the funnel that is well underway? We live in remarkable times, and our approaches in marketing and recruitment could do with rising remarkably, just being bold. But before you dive into this new top of funnel social frontier, there's a few things that you should know about TikTok and how colleges are using their ambassadors. The first thing is that TikTok is unlike any other social platform that has ever existed. And the main reason for that is its algorithm. Unlike Facebook or YouTube, the TikTok algorithm is much better at surfacing new and, most importantly, relevant content to all of its users. You don't need to build tens of thousands of followers to be discovered on TikTok. You can do it with a single, creative, humorous post that just hits the right mark. TikTok's tech will find you that audience. However, that's not to say that your content shouldn't follow some more tried and true principles for success on the platform. And we look through the platform and through the performance of the University of Winchester, high-performing TikTok channel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but they even come across my feed. They have 22.5K followers with a 27% engagement rate. Those stats, courtesy of the lovely people at Nonsensical, and those behind a report detailing how 30 colleges are using TikTok today. It's well worth a read. So what did Chichester do? First off, the content that performs well is humorous and honestly, sometimes completely unhinged. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the Duolingo bird, but all the crazy stuff that it does definitely brings in a huge audience. You have the university parodying its own open houses and students doing a campus tour in full camo gear, darting around like they're on some sort of mission. It's hilarious. And the content is striking a chord, not just with the audiences, but with pretty much all student audiences in general. They even made a TikTok talking about that exact subject. And second of all, it feels real. It's like a window into student life, and the topics are all things that audiences enjoy. There is no gloss here, no barrier between the brand and the people running the social media account. Remember, Gen Z wants the personality of your employees, whether they're your ambassadors or even full-time staff. They want that to shine through the screen, and Chichester does that really well. And finally, off the back of marketing things real, Chichester is building a star. A single student who became known for running the university's TikTok channel became the face of the brand, someone that students really felt like they could connect with. If it used to be the case that producing branded content was enough, it's no longer. Now, with the doubling in size of the creator economy since 2020, audiences expect to know the people that are behind the brand. But I would say there's a missed opportunity here, especially regarding the top of the funnel. Imagine if you built an account like this for your own college, but you're the star, the human face of the brand. But you were also handling student inquiries. Wouldn't that be an incredible mix? The power and reach of TikTok, but with the student who fully is trained in university admission, providing live chat support to help prospects move from the discovery phase through consideration and into conversion. We're really surprised that more and more colleges aren't doing this. And if you want to talk with us about how Unibuddy can help, please reach out. In summary, this is just one of the best ways to transition your ambassador stars into one-to-one conversions that will really happen.
Yeah, I don't know about all that TikTok. I don't have an account, so you're contributing my hours for me, Devyn. I appreciate it. But perhaps some of this stuff really terrifies you, like it does me a little bit, or you're doubtful that maybe you'll not be able to make a clean jump to peer-to-peer. Well, there are some other ways that you can begin to introduce some of these ideas that we've discussed today. But there are also some missteps that you can make along the way. One of which is that some brands believe that key to the next 10 years is good storytelling. The art of taking your organization's mission, purpose, and product and narrating your way to commercial advantage. And if that sounds a bit far-fetched, don't worry, it is. How many times have you watched a great ad only to not remember what the product was? Or how many times have you sat through a brand telling you all that they do is only possible because of you, but still don't believe a single word of it? Here's a thing you can do. Get your Google fired up and look up every COVID-19 commercial is the same. Again, that's every COVID-19 commercial is the same. And you'll get a hilarious few minutes of brands trying to remain relevant in a time when they should have been making customers their heroes. Just a lot of ominous music over and over again. It's a video of just under 100 brands with no differentiation, sparking no audience curiosity. And we imagine having zero recall value with their target personas, let alone actually connecting with them. So what can you do instead that truly celebrates your audience and makes you more likely to be discovered? Remember from earlier, Gen Z are more trusting when they hear things from their own friends and peers. And people are in general. 20% of all brands in the US are sold through recommendations through friends. And for those brands with younger demographics, it's even higher. So what do you need to do? It's not telling your brand story, but your customer story. Let's take a look at an example from outside the higher ed sector. The North Face and their campaigns targeting extreme sports fanatics. These people are a completely different breed. They spend their money on death-defying adventures and often get by on donations from fans, or if they're lucky, a corporate sponsor. But by most standards, they're way outside the boundaries of a normal society. If you appreciate this mindset, you're going to love North Face's video, Question Madness. I recommend you check that one out on YouTube as well. And the video shows these adventurers crying, screaming, falling off of rock faces, and testing the limits of human endurance. Hardly a fun day at the beach. A lot of the footage is user-generated, and we see words like fear morph into free and cult transform into community. It's a masterclass in top-of-the-funnel brand advertising. The piece really creates an incredible emotional connection with its audience, celebrating who they are and attracting other like-minded people to their cause. It's North Face's way of saying, it's okay, you belong. Compare this with the style of other top-of-the-funnel digital advertising that's based on interruption, that's based on abusing users' privacy, and all the things we spoke about earlier regarding cookies and tracking. It's night and day. North Face is distinctive, memorable, and invites you to be a part of the community, whereas your typical ads make you want to turn on your blocker. So let's look at how maybe you could do this from a higher education perspective. How can you celebrate your students and be discovered and attract others to your college? Orange Coast College is a medium-sized institution in California, And they're interested in presenting a very different student experience, one that is routed in the personal and almost artisanal end of the market. So students have a lot of freedom and control at this institution. And rather than running a campaign about its rankings and the career destinations of its students, of which are very, very favorable, it decides to run a student story-driven ad. So what does that look like? Well, the student that is the subject of the ad, they don't say a word. It's just it's not some kind of big budget testimonial here. Instead, we follow the students' desire to create the perfect surfboard to fully live their Orange Coast experience. Orange Coast is using the reach of its brand to put this student in front of the audience to attract other like-minded individuals. And how does this student create the perfect surfboard, you might be asking? By using university facilities. So this guy's dream literally wouldn't be possible without the university to make it happen. If you need inspiration for your next facilities promo, you could do a lot worse than taking a few minutes to watch this video. So another Google option for you here, Orange Coast, it's cooler at the coast. Again, that's Orange Coast, it's cooler at the coast. And you'll see those parallels between North Face's celebration of its extreme sport community and how Orange Coast likes to attract students who prefer a more hands-on approach to their degree.
So that's 3 alternative ways that you can approach the top of the funnel in 2022. But where do we feel that this is going to be headed over the next 5 years or so? And also, how can we rewire the ways that we think about those big, bold, top of funnel campaigns right now? Don't worry, we're not going to say the word metaverse, but there are a few things that you probably should be aware of. The first one is that partnerships are really going to be key. In a world where ads are becoming less effective, the colleges that win will use multi-touch campaigns. And that, yes, does feature some ads, but major on working with publications or individuals who have really good relationships with those target audiences. So for instance, if you're a college with a set culinary program, you could do well by either sponsoring influencers in that space or taking a deeper partnership with a content creator. The idea is working with people who have high personal engagement rather than just relying on general social and paid ad targeting. Which this secondly brings us back to the point of using your ambassadors at the top of the funnel. You'll increasingly see this happening across higher education. We know that Gen Z trusts other students more than official representatives, so it makes sense to use your ambassadors more at first touch recruitment events or on partnered websites like Study in the USA, and maybe even on those digital ads. What if your digital ads were a way for your prospects to have a live conversation with your student ambassadors? There are all kinds of ways you can rethink traditional advertising models and introduce something more peer-to-peer and interactive. And finally, we can't ignore how social platforms have managed to double the size of the creator economy since 2020. Of course, this has been spurred on by the great quitting. Pretty much people, especially millennials and Gen Z, quitting traditional corporate roles in favor of more flexibility. And why do we even mention this? Well, because it's never been easier to start an individual creator-led business. Pretty much creating a channel on TikTok. As people take this route, it becomes a key for people to consume media, not from organizations, but more from individuals in their entertainment or learning niche. People now expect this, and it's kind of a game changer for colleges leading ambitious ambassador programs. For instance, by having your ambassadors on Unibuddy, you can have them be the publishers of your college's content, sharing their own user-generated blogs and photos. People even do video blogs now, and they can also have conversations with prospects. So great conversations at the top of the funnel, but with the added bonus of your students being able to prove that they actually know what they're talking about. And as a result, this builds trust with the prospects. In effect, over the next 5 years, it will be standard practice to be able to discover a college through the people who make it, pretty much the students, rather than just the college itself. Don't fall behind.
Excellent. So we've covered a lot today, and we've designed it that way to make sure that you can take those topics and immediately apply them to what you do. However, sometimes it helps to have a conversation to clarify your thinking. So you can book a conversation with us where we can talk through the top of the funnel, opportunities for your specific institution, and even scope out if Unibuddy is a good fit for you. If you want to talk with either of us beforehand, please do reach out via our details here. You should see them on the screen for Devyn and myself, and we'll put those in the chat so that you can go ahead and reach them easily as well. I'm just going to go ahead and go through some questions. As a reminder, you can submit those to the Q&A section. This is a safe space. Please include any questions you might have. And we'll go ahead and get those kicked off. So I'm going to start with the first question that I'm seeing here. And this is probably, maybe I'm asking it myself because I guess I have to create an account, but where do I even start with TikTok? So Devyn, I'm going to let you address that one.
Yeah, I think one of the main keys when going into creating a TikTok account is not overthinking it. I think, like I said before, a lot of the stuff that really gets picked up and gets pushed to the target audiences are those really funny, unhinged things. So just kind of give your ambassadors the phone and just let them have fun with it. Of course, you want to check it just to make sure, but at the same time, those crazy videos that may not make too much sense are what's going to put a real draw to your account.
Fantastic. Great points. I think making sure it's that authentic content that's going to pique that interest. Great. Next question here. Please go ahead and submit those to the Q&A if any have popped up. How do you ensure ambassadors are sharing the correct message with prospects? So I think that's a great question. We all want to make sure that we're sharing the appropriate details, accurate information. And I think it's really important to understand as well that students are having these conversations. It's just really dependent if you want to get involved in that. And I think Unibuddy is a great way to do that. You also have the opportunity within our dashboard on the back end to coach your ambassadors how they're addressing those inquiries, making sure they're providing appropriate information and that your message or your branding is coming through within those discussions. So excellent question. It looks like that is about all of the questions we have here. We'll stick around if anybody does have any other questions they want to submit. We can go ahead and address those via text. But Devyn, any other final comments on your side before we conclude?
No, this was fabulous. And I think, from a lot of schools, I've heard mixed things about wanting to use TikTok. I say just get on there, find one of your student ambassadors that is maybe a business, like a marketing major, hand them the phone and just, let them go wild.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate everyone for joining today. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach Devyn and myself with the contact details included. We'll give you 30 minutes back here in your day, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event. Have a good one.
Thanks.